and welcome to my video. Today we're going to walk through the updating of my reading journal from Peanut Butter and Taco that I've been really enjoying. Very colorful. Let's see what books I got up to in the month of August, and let's set up for the month of September to get everything ready and set to go. Come along, join me on this awesome day getting my journal updated. Here I have my book journal from Peanut Butter Taco, as well as the date dot stickers from Happy Planner, the memory keeping book, and some washi tape from Cricut Paper Co. And those are the supplies, along with some highlighters from Moxie Life that I'll use later to color code the books that I have read. And so let's go ahead and get started and set up for this great journal. I love this journal so far. It's been really easy to use, and I am keeping up with it, which is even more amazing for the first time I'm actually using a book journal. All right, let's get started by adding in the books that we have read since the end of August. So let's start with the next one I read, which is The Compound, which is the 49th book that I read. And then the 50th book I read was My Money, My Way by Kimiko Love, which was the nonfiction book that I read for the month, which is exciting. Yay! 50 books, woohoo! Celebrate, do a little dance, all the things. Yeah, so very exciting. And also a sneak peek into 2 more books that I've already completed, which did not include on my August wrap-up that I finished, which includes The Silent Patient and the first Goosebumps book, Welcome to the Dead House, which was a reread for me. But let's go ahead and get those books added here into the library within my book journal. All right, let's go ahead and do a little bit of a speed up. Of my book, but it was really fun reading a Goosebumps book, and I really did enjoy that. So that was from I think I read them like the very first time they came out and as a child, and so to reread that was a lot of fun. I did find the first one at a thrift store, so that was cool. Now let's come up with the favorite book for August. I think it's gonna have to be Carl's Doomsday Scenario. All right, so it's the second book in a row of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. That is the favorite book. So we'll see, will September have the third book listed as the best book of September? We'll have to wait and see and find out. All right, now on to my alphabet challenge. Let's see if I can fill in any of those letters. Let's look to see through my list here. Moon, garden, silent, patient. Oh, nope. So it looks like those letters still evade me. Again, let me know if you have any recommendations on how to fill those letters in. All right, so keeping up with my goals, let's now jump to August and get those updated for the month of August. So first we're gonna go ahead and fill in my pile of possibilities that I had for the month of August. And then we'll see which ones I actually ended up reading. So we have Silver Elite as an option, and Education and Malice. Hide, The Compound, Carl's Doomsday Adventure, Scenario, not adventure. Do not know where adventure came in there. That's kind of funny. My Money, My Way. Then we have Cold Eternity. Station 11. The Orphanage. By the Lake. And Silent Patient. All right, as you can see, I read some different books than that were on my pile of possibilities, but that's okay, that happens. So let's go and fill in when I started and stopped different books. So I started The Lost Girls of Willowbrook back in July, but I finished it on the 6th. And then I started Artificial Condition, which is the second book in the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, on the 10th. And then finished it on the 13th. And then the third book, I started Ash Garden back in July, but finished it on the 15th. And then Carl's Doomsday Scenario, I started that on the 1st. Oops, and I forgot to write start, but that's okay. And I also finished it on the 15th, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it the day before, just as long as it's close. It doesn't have to be exact. And then I started Hide on the 17th and finished it. So I read this book in one day, which is very exciting and not something I typically do, but clearly I really enjoyed this one. It was a really good read, so I read that one all in one day. Should almost like star that one or something to make it extra special. The next book that I read was The Compound, and I started that on the next day. And if you want my full review on how I rated these, check out my video of my August wrap up as well. So, and then I finished this one on the 21st. I go into more detail, which ones I liked, which ones I didn't, and what ratings I gave them, and if I'd recommend them or not. The next book that I started was back in July, which was My Money, My Way, but then I finished it on the 26th. That is reading 10 pages every day in the morning. It's part of my morning routine, which it's kind of keeping on track to read one nonfiction a month, which is very cool. And then the next book I started was The Silent Patient on the 21st. So I'm just gonna move it to the 22nd. And you'll have to wait for my review on The Silent Patient until my September wrap up, because I had filmed my August wrap up before I finished this. So I was not expecting to finish another book before the end of the month. And so that was a surprise to me, but I was definitely intrigued to know what happened in The Silent Patient. So I got that finished on the 28th. And then the last book that I read, started and finished in one day, which that's funny. I had 2 books that I started and finished, but in August on the same day. But this one is the Goosebumps, which is much shorter. And this one was the Welcome to the Dead House. But we'll get more into why I read a reread on the 29th of August. So those are all the books I started and finished in the month of August, which is very exciting. So now if we move on to the next page, we are going to add in the challenge that I did here in the end of August with Krista's Patreon, Books and Jams. We did a S'more Stories weekend challenge where we could earn different badges depending on different accomplishments that we could make. So I'm just gonna add that on here. We could do Get the Forest Explorer if I read 2 or more books in the weekend. And then I could get a s'mores maker by having a themed snack, which is very fun and exciting. I had an ice cream bar, because who doesn't want to have ice cream when you're camping? And so I had that as my treat. And then the third one is a fireside friend. So if I chat or commented or posted or interacted with people in the community, I got that badge, which I had a lot of fun chatting with people during the live reading sprints, which is fun. And then we did a Trailblazer, which finished a book. I finished 2 books actually during this. And so I finished the Goosebumps, Welcome to the Dead House. But then I also finished another book that I was really interested in the have to wait and see to find out which other book I finished. And then the Story Hiker, read more than 150 pages. I definitely did that. And then read The Night Owl Reader, stay up past your bedtime. I did do this as well on Friday night, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, so I completed this challenge. I earned all 6 badges, which is very exciting, a lot of fun. So yeah, I really did enjoy taking part in that specific challenge, which was a lot of fun. All right, so now let's turn the page and update the books I read specifically here in August. So I have gone up to Hide. So now I need to add in the compound, as well as My Money, My Way. And then I have to add in The Silent Patient. And lastly, Welcome to the Dead House. That didn't quite fit. Oh well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books in August, which is very exciting. And the one and only book that I purchased in the month of August compared to the 15 books I purchased in July was Frozen River from Barnes & Noble during my trip to Chicago. So that is very exciting. We'll see what I purchased in the month of September. I'm expecting a few more books for sure than just one. So stay posted to see what books I purchased in the next month. But now moving on to September, let's go ahead and get a few things set up here, including my pile of possibilities, which is a long one, so bear with me as I write these out. The first one we have is Wayward Girls. And then the next one we have is The Measure. And then The Will of the Many. I Who Have Never Known Men. And then Revenant X, which is the sequel to Paradise 1. On Honeymooners, which I currently have checked out from Libby as an audiobook. And then I have, of course, Frozen River, Lazy Genius Way is the nonfiction book that I'm currently reading for the month of September, and is part of Lakin's Plan with Lakin's goal setting community. We're doing a very chill book club, and we'll have a discussion at the beginning of October. And then of course I can't forget the next Dungeon Crawler Carl book, which is the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook. As the last option. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe read all those, probably not. We'll see how this month goes. Of course, there is a few outliers that I might be interested in that aren't on this possibility, but I do just like to have some options available. So the next step is to add in our date dots for the month of September. Let's go ahead and speed it up and add in the week. September. I can't wait to see what books that I get up to and finish reading. Stay tuned for more great content related to reading. Have a great day. Bye.